I was just so hurt by the finish, by the fact that there wasn't that resolution there. That's the only reason it probably got bumped down to 4.5.
So let's give it a clean finish. Give it a clean finish.
Given a clean finish, that would have been 5, maybe even if I could somehow pull off a 6-star match.
I don't know. It wasn't in the Tokyo Dome, man. I don't know if you're allowed to give it a match 6 stars. It's not the Tokyo
Dome. But it was one of those matches that was stolen the show, like at WrestleMania or anything else, but you had it right on television on NXT.
If that had a legitimate finish, that could have been a main event. I mean, if any two people other than those two could have pulled off the same match, I don't think they could. But even those two, in let's say 3, 4, 5 years' time, moved up to the main roster, given proper pushes, given a proper build-up and storyline into WrestleMania, that match could have been a WrestleMania match.
If they keep going the route they're going and keep at least that level of respect / feud going, this could easily be the this generation's version of Steamboat and Savage. Because
I think you mentioned that during the match.
Yeah. Yes, or actually I'd say Steamboat Flair.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And because those guys wrestled everywhere, maybe five times a week.
My problem with a comparison like that is I don't think you could compare Pete Dunne to anybody.
No.
And there's very few people that you could compare Ricochet to, let alone from the past. There's nobody from the past that you could compare Ricochet to.
Both of them are so evolved in their craft. The ground and pound submission style of Pete Dunne is just something you really don't see very often in the bigger brands or whatnot. And you have Ricochet's high flying and quick offense and everything that he just makes look. He just makes it look effortless. That's what I'm waiting for. Eventually Ricochet is going to get the call up, and if it's to SmackDown and it's versus AJ Styles, my head may explode.
Oh, but then maybe it's to 205 Live and it's against Leo Rush. My plan is to enjoy Ricochet and Pete Dunne and all of the other fine talent in NXT while they're in NXT and hope for the best when they get called up. But I'm not going to expect
history has shown that
otherwise.
Because there's that glass ceiling. But we're not going to get into that.
No, I think. I think I'll. I don't think I'm going to agree with you at 4.5 stars. I think for me, if it was a kooky finish, a non-finish, 4.5 stars would be fine. But the fact that it was such a predictable non-finish, we called it less than halfway through the match. Mm-hmm. You called it. I mean, I was thinking it, but
you're a believer. You're like this.
I wanted something different. I wanted, at the very least, a double count out or a double 10 count, or he even said maybe there will be a double pin, something like that, where it's weird.
Pete would have him in a submission while at the same time have his shoulders to the mat, and maybe another referee comes out and says, hey, his shoulders were on the mat. Hey, he tapped out at the same time.
Something controversial, something to drag it out. The only thing that came of this, the only thing, I guess, purposeful, the reason behind it probably is it turns the feud from one Ricochet versus Pete Dunne back to either individually versus the Undisputed Era or collectively. And we discussed this, the possibility of a return tag team match with O'Reilly and Strong, or he said, a possible triple threat match.
Triple threat match, possibly.
Possibly, and we will discuss that possibility here soon. Let's go ahead and get into... I give it 4.25 stars. I'm going to take off 1/4 star for such a predictable ending, even though I understand sort of why they did it. I didn't like it. I hate... Sometimes it's
when you have a product like NXT that's supposed to be different from the other brands and whatnot, you don't expect to have you're not supposed to have any expectations going into.
You're not supposed to be able to predict it.
No.
You know, because it's supposed to be different, man. And I told him during the match. I told him I was like, no, you're crazy, man. They're not going to interfere. If this was Raw, absolutely they're going to interfere. But this is NXT, and sure enough, they interfered. So let's get away from last week's episode. Great match for me. I hated the ending, and that took 3/4 of a star off the match. I probably would have given it 5 stars if it had a just and a fair ending.
A solid finish.
Finish would have been that would have been match of the year for me. I think that would have been match of the year so far. That's how good of a match that was. Good grief, because you went from cringing at what Pete Dunne was doing to just
jaw dropping
out of your seat watching Ricochet do what he does, and it was great. So let's move on to tonight's. Well, for us it's tonight, sort of. Yesterday, it's early in the morning for us. We are both second shift. We got off work at 11 o'clock.
It's 3 o'clock right now.
Yeah, it's late. so maybe we should get this over quickly so we can get some sleep between here and work tomorrow. So we started off NXT this week with Regal coming to the ring, and presumably to talk about the ongoing investigation into who attacked Aleister Black and laid him out. I tell you what I like about that storyline, though. They took an injury, and instead of just letting the guy go and be injured, or doing a quick write-off where you explain that he's injured somehow, like they did with Dean Ambrose and that piece of that box equipment box that they slammed, whatever. Yeah. They've actually taken him getting injured and turned it into a long-term storyline. Mm-hmm. I enjoy that, but it didn't actually end up necessarily being about that, because then we had the Undisputed Era come out, and what did Adam Cole call Regal? He called him a second-rate Sherlock Holmes,
yes,
something like that.
And I believe it was Roderick that said, "I like that show." I'm like, he is aware that was a book first, right?
So basically, Undisputed Era comes out and. They want to attack Regal, verbally, of course, for not doing his job, paying more attention to the investigation about Aleister Black than what's going on.
Adam Cole's sour about not having his rematch and whatnot, but at the same time, Regal's quick enough to point out to him that they attacked after the match.
And he didn't ask for a rematch, he said.
He didn't ask for a rematch, for one. 2, they attacked after a match. And 3, he thinks Cole was just waiting for Dunne to just soften him up so he can just easy pickings.
So Dunne softens him up. They end the match to make sure that Ricochet keeps the title, and then now he wants a rematch so that he can take a softened up Ricochet and get his title back.
Yes.
And we also had Strong and O'Reilly complaining about the War Raiders running roughshod or running amok, stalking them, attacking them. And they feel unsafe. This right after they attacked Ricochet and Pete Dunne after the match.
What was that? Third-rate Viking cosplayers.
Third-rate Viking cosplayers.
It's like, oh great, it's just let's just go ahead and antagonize them.
Well, this basically culminated in Regal calling him out, and basically he says, in 2 weeks' time, we're gonna have a triple threat match with Adam Cole and Ricochet and Pete Dunne, all for the North American Championship. And in 3 weeks' time, we're going to have a tag team championship match between the Undisputed Era Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly versus the War Raiders.
Yes. Both are going to be, I can already see, being phenomenal matches, especially with triple threat rules. Because triple threat, there really are no rules. There's gotta be a winner in a triple threat match. I've seen matches with triple threats like turn into TLC matches. I've seen interference. That's something I would have found interesting if they had turned that into a triple threat ladder match for the belt instead. Because then you have like Cole, who's also kind of the aerialist, but he's more of a technical kind of guy, and then you have Pete Dunne, who's just like submissions expert, and then you have Ricochet, who's just...
Well, I don't know if you know the North American Championship, the first champion was decided in a 6-person ladder match
Yes.
at NXT Takeover.
Okay,
so you do know that much.
Yes.
For me, I think it's a little too soon to do another ladder match for the North American Championship unless you're setting a precedent that is one of the matches that is most often used for that title. Like you can defend the title in a regular match or triple threat or whatever regular rules or other rules, but most of the time in a big match situation, for some reason, that's the title that you defend in a ladder match.
Yeah, that's what
be a weird precedent though.
Granted, I know we're trying to stick with NXT, but at the same time, that's one of the things that bothers me about Hell in a Cell, because that's supposed to be the match that ends a feud more or less.
Oh, Aaron Roof would love you. But he has plenty of problems with that Hell in a Cell.
But back in the day, if you especially if you're in a blood feud or anything with anybody, the steel cage match was the end all be all to anything.
And the ladder match was the match that you used when there was screwy finishes where now we just want to make sure there's only one way to win. You climb the ladder, you pull down the belts.
Yes. So now you have the Hell in a Cell, which has become almost standard. Like, you see more Hell in a Cell matches than you do just regular steel cage matches.
Almost, I would think, yeah.
And, like, Elimination Chamber, that thing is about extinct. I can...
Well, they have the pay-per-view. And that's another thing Aaron hates, and I agree. I totally agree. Pay-per-views with the stipulation built into the name of the pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell, TLC, Elimination Chamber, these kind of matches should be organic to the storyline. They should come because of a need in the feud, not because they have to have one because that's the name of the pay-per-view.
There has to be a legitimate rivalry going on and enough, bad blood between the two opponents that they actually want blood, even though they really don't have much blood.
So I feel like you're strengthening my argument, but at the same time strengthening yours. Because you're saying that because of the 3 participants in it, it makes sense for it to be a ladder match. But I'm saying so close to the original ladder match, you don't want to set a precedent that's kind of the match that you use to settle.
That and with the Undisputed Era, like there's more of a chance of foul play, especially with a ladder match, because it's like you usually have them distracting while Adam Cole goes up and gets the belt. So, but yeah, the idea of the just triple threat match in general between the 3 for the North American title,
it's salivating, man.
You could put it
salacious.
You could put them pretty much in the middle of a ball pit, and these guys are going to put on an awesome match. So
on a trampoline, you
can put them in a trampoline in the middle of like BFE. And they're gonna kill it. So it's gonna be an interesting match in 2 weeks.
I tell you, between that match, from what I saw between Ricochet and Pete Dunne, and what I saw between Ricochet and Adam Cole, and then the tag team championship match the next week, which my guess is going to be recorded on the same night down in Full Sail.
Yep.
It makes me wish I could take some vacation, drive down to Florida, and go see that taping. Because from what I've seen from Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong together, and what I've seen from the War Raiders as they've been kind of coming up through NXT, that's going to be an amazing match too.
Well, you have Strong and O'Reilly that are just tag team specialists. The Strong going way back to Generation Next with Austin Aries and Alex Shelley and a whole bunch of great guys that he used to team up with. And then you have Kyle O'Reilly, who came up with Bobby Fish and Red Dragon in Ring of Honor. And they were Ring of Honor champions for a long time. They were kind of a dark horse team. And they just ran roughshod over people for the longest time because they were just that good together.
Yeah, because they don't look like two guys that would be like a dominant tag team. They don't look like two guys that would be dominant singles wrestlers.
No, they're not. But then when you combine the two forces together, it all just kind of makes sense, the yin and the yang, and just boom. And definitely caught lightning in a bottle when it came to Fish and O'Reilly. I think we've got the same kind of magic going with Strong and O'Reilly. So that match is going to be, it's going to be brutal.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to call that match.
Yeah.
Well, not call, but review that match. So hopefully we'll still be doing this in 3 weeks. Or, 2 weeks for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of Fish and O'Reilly, do you think that there is going to be some tension, some let's say, some Undisputed Era crumbling tension when Fish gets cleared to wrestle again? Or do you think it's going to end up Freebird rules like it's been with Adam Cole? I think, was it Fish? Or no, it was when Fish first got injured and Adam Cole stepped in to help O'Reilly defend before Roderick turned on Dunn and ended up joining, and now he's kind of officially the other half of the tag. But I think they've set the precedent. There's still the Freebird rules in there, if need be.
I think also what could happen with that, and I this thought just popped in my head as well. Once Fish returns, I think there's actually going to be tension within the group anyway, because like I'm going to say this right now. This is my prediction for the triple threat match. Adam Cole's not going to walk away with the belt. I think O'Reilly and Strong are going to manage to somehow keep the tag titles. And when Fish returns, yeah, they'll probably be doing the Freebird rule, but then it's going to be this thing where it's like, okay, we have 4 members, and we have we pretty much have the Freebird rule, which only really applies to 3.
Well, yeah, but I think to your point, Adam Cole is more interested in singles championships. And I think what you're saying is Adam Cole's going to get jealous of the tag team titles.
I think he's interested in having gold in general, okay. and the fact that Fish comes back into the fold, I think they're going to gear
cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, pretty much, and I think it's going to culminate possibly with Adam Cole getting either turned on or turning his back on the team. And getting the boot or walking out, and that's going to set him up for maybe even a face run, since he's already got so much crazy heat to him right now. Anyway,
I guess if written correctly, you could turn him face by having him turn on them. But usually, when somebody turns on somebody, it's
I don't think he'll turn on them. I think they'll turn on him, and that way they play the whole sympathy card.
So you could sell the angle looking like he's going to turn on them because of jealousy, but then they twist it at the end and they end up turning on him.
Yeah.
Because he's such a jealous bitch.
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know. They're probably not going to write that into the storyline.
But I can totally see that happening, and not much longer from that, he'll probably get called up to the main roster.
Well, yeah, if he splits from them, I could see that happening real quick. I could see that be the reason that he splits from the Undisputed Era, just to call him up without having to call the whole group up at the same time. So let's move on from that was just our ramble
first week.
Yeah, that was the first segment of the second week. Like that was our 20-minute tirade on the Undisputed Era. And those two, but that's how much I'm looking forward to those 2 matches. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad they split it up into one week and one the next.
Well, I said first week because that's where everything kind of started off, and then just went into the second week.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Well, I guess if you had both of those championship matches on the same show, it'd be a 2-match show. Yeah. You'd start the show with 1 match, it'd be 30 minutes. Then you end the show with the second match, and it'd be 30 minutes. So yeah, I'm glad that they've split that into 2 separate weeks. My guess is each match will be the main event of each show.
Yeah.
Next, we had a press interview. Well, sort of press. It was one person holding the mic, one person holding the phone. An interview with Johnny Gargano out back, I guess, out in the parking lot as he's coming in or maybe leaving. I don't know. Apparently, he's going to wrestle next week.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like.
He said he's going to come back. He's got a brand new focus to him. He had to take a week or 2 off just to get his head straight.
Yeah, get his head straight.
So that's going to be interesting to see, because Gargano's just one of those guys where you can't really read him, so you don't know really what's going on in his head. But It's going to be interesting television, I can say that much. And then you had a little bit of a confrontation.
Yeah. I was going to mention it was kind of weird because the previous week when Regal was interviewing or interrogating Candice LeRae, she casually mentioned that her and Johnny Gargano were trying to separate their personal life and their professional life, but then suddenly. So at the end of this interview with Johnny Gargano, he kind of catches up with Candice LeRae, and they're, like I said, they're either walking to the building or from, I'm not sure, but they're walking.
It looked like they were just walking out of the building.
And coming out of the building was Lacey Evans. She comes out and I guess picks a fight with Candice LeRae to the point to where she goes to like caress Johnny Gargano's arm, and Candice LeRae kind of. She takes offense. She swats her away. What the are you doing?
Yeah. Oh, she basically almost went Springer and Gargano's like, she's not worth it. She's not worth it. We just go ahead and go. We don't need to be doing anything. Let's just get out of here.
Yeah. So I can see this. This is either going to be a match next week, or my better guess is because we've got the two title matches the week after and the week after that. That next week, what we're going to see is a recap of that happening, and then it's going to pull up a graphic that says William Regal has made this match for next week. So we'll probably see that the same week as we see the triple threat match for the NA title.
Or at least probably Candice LeRae will have a match where
maybe Lacey Evans comes in.
Lacey interferes or keeps her distracted enough that she loses in the match or something of that nature. But yeah, this feud is just starting, and it's going to get interesting.
Yeah, I dig these characters. The only thing I don't really, and I mentioned this to him during the tag match from last week's episode. The only thing I don't like about Lacey Evans is her gimmick is it's a little inspired, I guess, but at the same time, it's so old in era that it's hard for me to wrap around that this isn't just a character.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, I have to take a wrestler seriously to a certain extent. And her character doesn't, to me, it seems like a serious character at heart, but the outfit she comes out with is like, who dresses like that? Are you going to a convention?
The thing with her is you look at her and you kind of think, okay, this is going to be the Southern Belle type. Like you would expect some sort of Southern twang, or maybe like, you know, a little more condescension in her voice. But she doesn't have that. She's just, I won't say stale, but she's like very. She just doesn't give off the vibe that you think with that kind of character.
Yeah,
or at least that kind of wardrobe with it. And
yeah, I like the character, not the wardrobe. I think there's probably got to be 80s, 90s, early 2000s version of that idea of an independent, powerful woman. Because I think that era was the era when women, it was the suffragette movement, when women got the right to vote.
That's what I
think
thought,
that's the idea behind it.
That's something that actually popped in my head when we were sitting there watching that first match. And like the whole women's rights thing.
You know, that girl with the right hand up in that famous poster. I can't remember what the words are on the poster.
Yeah.
Sorry. I swear I'm not misogynist. I can't remember. But it's very famous, and I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. She's got her sleeve rolled up. You know, she's flexing her bicep, maybe, or
the Riveter.
Like the Riveter, yeah. And she's got the bandana on. So, of course, I'm a fan. I just can't remember what the tagline is on it. But, yeah, that's my only problem with Lacey Evans. But
it'd be cool for her to actually have, like, instead of like that right hand, or maybe have the right hand be a finish set for it, have an actual like a submission called the suffrage. How awesome would that be for a submission finishing move name would be the suffrage.
The suffrage,
and maybe make it like a House of Pain.
Well, I think she needs something because I'm not a big fan of her finisher anyway.
Yeah, the right hand.
It's a great name, not an inspired finisher.
Yeah, the like it doesn't even have the equivalent of Stephanie's slap.
Yeah,
Okay,
Stephanie's slap echoes. You know?
that you get a lot of muster on that.
Now, like I said, last week's women's right, okay, it looked good, but even still, it's less to me. It's less than a Bailey to Belly.
I think it's how somebody takes it though too. Like,
oh yeah, she took it very well. She sold that great.
If you're just in a standstill kind of thing, it's gonna look bland.
Well, Dakota Kai does the limp body sell so good. She falls that dancer guy that can just like look like he goes boneless.
Yeah,
she falls like that, and she's very good at that sell.
She's very Van Damme-ish in her selling.
For me, I'm pretty sure Lacey Evans has faced Candice LeRae on NXT within the last several months. I'm pretty sure because I did like an 8 or 9 week catch up.
Yeah.
To NXT before NXT Takeover Chicago. I'm pretty sure that happened less than 4 or 5 months ago. But anyway, hopefully, if it did, they call reference to that when this match happens again.
Oh yeah, they'll have it in the montage.
Not necessarily, but hopefully something. Next, we had a backstage interview with Velveteen Dream. I believe we had one with Velveteen Dream on the previous show, but we didn't mention it. It didn't seem worth mentioning.
No, this one actually had a little more depth to it.
Yeah, again, Velveteen Dream is insinuating that Tommaso Ciampa is, and that's again why I say there's no way Tommaso Ciampa attacked Aleister Black.
Like Velveteen Dream, like I had heard a lot about the guy, and I saw like clips and whatnot of his feud that he had building with Ricochet going into their match.
Oh man, all you need for Velveteen Dream is 3 matches.
Yeah,
you need Takeover Chicago, you need Takeover Brooklyn, this past one, and the match between him and Aleister Black. Watch those 3 matches and those 3 alone. And I bet you if you can find them on YouTube and watch them, I bet you by the time we do this next week, you will be a full-fledged Velveteen Dream fan.
Well, I already kind of am just from his persona in general because
this man hasn't even seen him wrestle yet.
He's
fucking brilliant.
I've seen
Velveteen Dream is brilliant. Aaron Riff says it best. He is ready now. I mean, he can, since he's so young, he can stand to stay in NXT for another 2 or 3 or year or two, or even 2 or 3 years. He's so young. I mean, he's like, what, like 22, 23? He's so, or maybe even younger than that. He's super young.
Yeah.
So he's got nothing but time, but he's already ready. That's the thing. He doesn't really, I don't know if he has the name value yet for WWE, but then again, I don't know if anybody that's grown and born in NXT really does.
But he, from what I gather, he's got some great athleticism to him and whatnot, and also the fact that his persona that he has right now is very reminiscent for me of earlier Elijah Burke and Chris Jericho. He's got that brashness, he's got that cockiness, but then he also
he's got swag.
He's got the triple I, almost like Prince type thing going on.
Yeah, he's totally sort of a knockoff of Prince. You got to give him that, but he pulls it off so well, and so like it's personal to him. Like it's not like he's ripping off Prince necessarily. He's just inspired by.
Yeah, like he's the artist formerly known as Prince. I can't, but
yeah, he's no artist formerly known as Goldust. Although Goldust seems to be to me to be the only person or predecessor that we could compare him to in his feminine persona. And I'll say it. I mean, it's a feminine persona.
Yeah.
I don't think he's trying to portray himself as possibly gay or transgender or anything like that.
Just extremely flamboyant.
But, yeah, feminine flamboyant. But he pulls it off very well because it seems so natural.
Yeah.
And I'm almost assured that it's not natural. He's just that good of an actor. Maybe somebody knows and can point out. But next we had. It was funny. This was a very weird match for us sitting here because for anybody else it was a super brutal match to watch, but for at least the first half of the match we could not stop laughing because you have Lars Sullivan come out to his cool ass intro where he looks so big and enormous and powerful, and then gets up in the silhouette, and all you see is the outline of his ginormous body.
And his huge ears.
And I'm like, okay, so who's coming out? Who's he gonna face next? Nobody comes out. Instead, the lights come on, and there's a dude in the ring. And I'm like, okay, dude in the ring. And I'm taking my notes, Lars Sullivan versus, who's this guy? He doesn't even get a bar. He doesn't even get a name bar. There's no, and his opponent, already in the ring, nothing. So I wrote Lars Sullivan versus no name with no name card. No entrance.
He's got the name Walker written on the back of his shirt.
He has the name Walker. And this is such a short match that by the time we get done laughing, finally we kind of hear out of the corner of my eye that his name is Victor Orchant, or this is what they're calling him. Obviously his name is something Walker, because that's what's on his tights, is Walker. Unless he's pretending to be a zombie in some other federation. So for the majority of this match,
or he just grabbed the wrong
person's
tights in the back. Who knows?
Yeah, at the fact that this guy is so bad, he doesn't get an entrance, he doesn't get an announcement, he doesn't get a name placard, he doesn't even get his name mentioned on commentary until he's this close to being defeated. And then the match ends, and the match didn't end in defeat. No. He was this close to getting defeated, and then what happens?
EC3 comes out. EC3 came in, like, pretty much cleaned house. The forgotten Walker guy just
rolled away.
Rolled away.
In simulated defeat.
He wasn't even an enhancement talent. He was
less than enhancement. Less than jobber. He was a jobber's jobber.
He was the appetizer to the ham and eggs. He was. Oh my god. I couldn't stop laughing at it because, even Horowitz got a placard or whatnot,
I'm pretty sure I missed the initial attack that EC3 did on not Aleister Black, but Lars Sullivan, because I was laughing so hard. He's sitting there rolling around on the outside of the ring, this Walker guy, and I'm just like, and then suddenly EC3 comes and. I guess they're still trying. Maybe he's still kind of being pushed as a face, but kind of a tweener. Because this was an attack from behind. Maybe he had to do it because, it's Lars Sullivan. But it was an attack from behind. He knees Lars Sullivan in the back. They fight back and forth a little bit, but he gets the upper hand, knocks Lars out of the ring. But then Lars gets up and grabs him by the neck. And he's going to follow him in the ring carrying a choke slam. Or a pre-choke slam.
Yeah.
And then EC3 knocks the hand away and he knocks him back down. But then they end this with Lars Sullivan backing up the ramp, smiling. And I kind of get why Lars Sullivan is smiling, because he enjoys that kind of brutality, even if it's on himself or somebody else performing it on him. But then EC3 goes this goofy ass smile.
Yeah,
trying to make fun of Lars Sullivan, maybe? I don't know. It looked weird to me.
I think he was trying to come off as crazy as Lars Sullivan was, but at the same time, it just came off as cheesy and hokey.